All right, well, welcome to the grip. Never met a teacher who didn't agree that grip is the most important fundamental that exists in our entire sport. Everything that happens in your golf swing is at least a little bit, if not a whole lot, affected by the way that you hold the golf club. So having a good grip, man, it's really, really important. I often feel like your mom telling you to eat your broccoli when I tell you to work on grip all of the time. Watch great players, they have great grips. It's just the way it is. Okay. This one is the short version of the grip lesson, and what I'm assuming here is that you already play golf and you have somewhat of an understanding of grip, and I just want to point out some of the common mistakes, the faults and fixes that I have seen for over 40 years of teaching the sport of golf. So this one's not going to be incredibly intense. If you need the long version, in other words, if you're brand new to golf and you have no clue how to hold the club, you can go back to that slide and I have a long version video, and that's a step-by-step, and I'm sorry, it is like 17 and a half minutes long, and I couldn't help it. I mean, there's a lot of details in explaining how to put the grip on the put your grip on the club. Even when we're just tweaking your grip, I promise you, a change in the grip is one of the most uncomfortable changes that you can make in all of golf. So I can say this. Hopefully you've watched the previous videos on the mental side and the spiritual side of things, but man, stay out of the results. Just dedicate yourself to holding it better, and over time, if you just stay committed to the grip change, it'll stop feeling uncomfortable, and I promise it'll prove itself. All right. So where we're going to begin is with the lead hand. The lead hand, if you're right-handed, is your left hand. The trail hand is the right hand if you're right-handed, and your left hand if you're left-handed, and I'm not doing that anymore, so I'm just going to refer to my left hand and my right hand, and you lefties, just flip it in your head, and when I say left hand here, right hand, would you please, because it gets very confusing when I keep trying to switch it around. All right, so in that lead hand, I've also got a close-up camera going, so I can slip down to it. In the lead hand, the number one thing I see absolutely most often is, as I turn to the side here, let me hold it up so the shadow doesn't see it. When you put your club on the ground like this and then bring your hand to it, it very naturally comes at an angle that sends the club in between these two pads in your hand, or at best, just on top of that lower pad of your hand. This is a very poor adhesion to the club. Stick a club or go grab a hammer and put it right here, and try to see how much leverage you can generate trying to hammer a nail into a piece of wood that way. What I do, especially with beginners, or even if you haven't, pick the club up off the ground and point it straight up in the air and make a fist around the end of it as if you were grabbing a hammer or a baseball bat or a tennis racket. Then when your thumb goes on, when you go down to the ground, then what you'll see is it's hooked underneath that pad. Very, very similar, again, to a hammer. Later in the golf swing, then that's going to help provide you with leverage. It'll help you hit it further. It'll help you hit it more solid. There are a lot of factors that improve because your hand's there. All right. So that's going to be the very first thing, and I promise I see it all the time. It's why your glove is worn out in the palm of your hand, by the way. That, along with the fact that you're probably squeezing the life out of the glove. But positionally, get it underneath that pad on the bottom pad of your hand, and you'll be a lot better at golf. Okay. The second part of the grip that I see people do incorrectly all the time is just positionally. This one's usually on purpose. You know, people don't really think about that other one, but this one's usually on purpose, and it's the position of your hand, okay? We'll go back to this close-up view. If you're looking straight at the club, then that's a pretty traditional grip. The thing I see all the time is everybody wants to turn their hand to the back part of the club, and if you do it, which is fine, it's called a strong grip. There's tour players with strong grips, so it can't be wrong. There's a lot of people with strong grips that are very, very good at golf. When it's a compensation for slicing the golf ball, then what it does is it allows the bad part of your golf swing to stay there, and then you have another bad part of your swing. So what happens is you generate a multitude of bad things in your golf swing so that in that moment you can hit a good shot, but you're robbing yourself of your future. You're not going to be your best if you keep putting one compensation on top of another compensation on top of another compensation, if you get my point. So positionally, I would encourage you to go as close to neutral as you can. Strong grip is usually biased towards hitting the ball to the right if you're a right-hander. And a weak grip would be, it's very uncommon to see this very often, but if you move your hands to the front part of the club, then it's called a weak grip, and that's usually to help you fix hooks, or you're hitting the ball to the left. But I want it somewhere near the center line. If there's a line, if there were a line going right down the center of my grip and your grip, when you put your hand on it, I like to see the lead thumb be just to the back of that line, maybe even touching it just a bit. When I pick the club up and go to this front-facing view so you can see it, what that means is the back of my lead hand is facing in the same direction as the face of the club is facing, approximately. It doesn't have to be exact, but approximately there. When you get that massively strong grip, then the face of the club's at the target and your hands pointed up at the sky. If you had a massively weak grip, then the face of the club's at the target and the back of your hands facing in. Those are good indicators to look for to see where your hand is. When it's neutral, then the back of your lead hand, the left hand, is going to be facing approximately the same direction as the face of the club. And for the lead hand, for the left hand, those are the two major factors that I see people do incorrectly more often than anything else. There's others. Come see me personally and we can really fine-tune it for you. But in a broad spectrum like this, where it's a video that's going to be watched by a bunch of people, hopefully, then I can't really get all that detail. But those two in the left hand are the things I see. In the right hand, overwhelmingly, it boils down to one. That is, I'm going to go back to this to the close-up view for you so you can really see it. In a pretty traditional grip like mine, then what you see is that my hand is in a position where my right hand is able to stay on top of the club and kind of cup my lead thumb underneath it, so it kind of looks like a jigsaw puzzle. I always love that part, and everything kind of fits together. If I show you in the front view, then that means that, and instead of being back here in the strong condition to try to fix my slice, I bring my hand more up into my fingers, and then my hand pockets down, and about half of my right thumb is hanging off the club and only half of it touching the club. That's really good. The root of being able to do any of that is, as I open my hand, what you'll see is there's none of the club touching my hand. Let me even move my thumb. None of the club is touching my hand. It's all in my fingertips. Having the club this much in your fingertips is the root of a lot of discomfort for people. It feels completely out of control. What I always tend to sarcastically say, and I apologize, is, well, I've seen you hit golf balls when you feel like you're in control, and it ain't that good. So control doesn't work anyway. You need to feel a little bit out of control. Think about a Major League Baseball pitcher. Could he throw a 90, 100-mile-an-hour fastball if he stuck the ball in his palm? No. It's from the fingers, and that's where the snap and the speed comes from in order to throw a ball fast. It's a real good analogy when it comes to grip, is keep it up there in your fingers, and actually you'll produce a lot more controllable golf shots than you do when you're trying to control it and fix everything going from the right or the left. No chance that is a complete guide on how to hold the club, but just more some reminders of things that I dominantly see people do wrong. Again, if you want the full Megillah, grab some popcorn, because it's a little bit of a long video to watch the long version of the grip, but may very well be worth it. Well, I hope some of those mechanical explanations are going to help you with your grip. If you get a better grip, you're going to get a better golf game. But this is golf out of control, so we're not stopping with just a mechanical explanation, assuming that by understanding new mechanics, that you're actually going to do them is a very bad assumption. in my experience in teaching golf, it just doesn't stick that way. Golf isn't just physical, it's also mental. I like to give mental tools, not just, hey, think about it. What I want you to imagine when you're practicing your grip is that you're in grip class, you're in grip school. You have a very strict teacher, and if you hold it wrong, you're going to the principal's office. In other words, focus your attention, assume that your grade only comes from how you hold the golf club. If you hold the club correctly, you get an A+. If you hold the club wrong, you're going to the principal's office. That's it. I want you to contemplate this. Why does holding the club differently, why is it so uncomfortable in the first place? It's not physically uncomfortable. You want me to prove it? Go sit on your couch, watch TV, flip the club upside down, cross your hands, the left hand on top of the right instead of the right hand on top of the left. Nothing you do in your grip generally feels physically uncomfortable until you contemplate and worry about the shot result. Contemplating results always brings destructive behaviors. That's it. So what I want is the result to become holding it right. You're allowed to hit it as bad as you need to. You can swing and fall down and still get an A as long as you hold on to the club right. It's your choice. You can either make this difficult and take a long time, or you can take this massive shortcut I'm giving you, go to grip school. Grip is the only thing to contemplate. It's the only place your grade comes from. I think that's a wonderful segue into the third category, the spiritual parts of golf. So how does that apply? Well, worry. When you're worried about the golf shot, it's really, really hard to hold on to the club the way you want to because it's uncomfortable just because you're not used to it. Worry never does a single solitary thing that's good. In the Bible, it talks about not worrying about what we'll wear. Don't worry about what we'll eat. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Why? Because it doesn't help anything. He tells you, look, I take care of the birds of the field, and I love you so much more than that. Bring this part into your golf game and see the magical results. I also hope that you'll read the devotional at the end. I believe it's a really good one. Blessed my life in a lot of ways. At any rate, great work on your grip. Now, go do some work.